Really sucks relying on Google Translate. However, we'll get the picture. This tweet says, a politically correct love live drawn by Russian SJW. It is not satire for political correctness. It's a serious person. By the way, as you can see, this tweet is doing pretty well. 2.3 thousand retweets, 5.2 thousand likes. Now we'll take a look at some of the art that this Japanese person is talking about that they found on Tumblr. So I actually wasn't familiar with this term, Tumblr redraw. However, I am not surprised it's a thing. I am familiar with this art style. It always kind of creeps me out. I don't know why some of these people on Tumblr like making the women look like men. They seem to do it, though, with the angular features and stuff. I don't know. I don't know why they do it. Well, I mean, I can assume why. I don't want to talk about that, though. Let's continue. Here is another example from that tweet. An example of the art that they are mocking. This is, again, from Love Live. And this is the trio, Lily White. Take a look, and then I'll show you the actual Lily White. If you're not familiar with them, you'll see. As you can probably assume, it's vastly different. So here is the actual Lily White, and I'll just leave it on screen for a moment so you can take in the kawaiiness, right? Very nice, very great group of idols. They're doing a great job. Now, because it's funny, let's read that tweet one more time. Now that you see the pictures, the context there. A politically correct love live drawn by Russian SJW. It is not a satire for political correctness. It's a serious person. This Japanese person was actually, I love how they said it's actually not satire. Like they know some other people in Japan might think, oh no, they're not serious with these redraws. This has to be a joke. Has to be a parody. It has to be satire. Except no, it's not. Unfortunately, I can't really go over the entire thread because there's some areas that just don't really make sense with the Google Translate. For example, this one where the Tumblr/Twitter user says, why are men? And shows a picture comparing two different anime girls, one who's flat and one who's not. And, you know, they got a problem with the one who's not. Our Japanese buddy, B Worm, said, it's a habit to be serious. It's only hetero man who makes a woman such an anime, so don't paint on natural milk. So again, this is just an example of Google Translate not working so well on this one. Or maybe I'm the weird one. Maybe this makes perfect sense and I'm just one who doesn't get it. I don't know. Actually, I do have someone who helps me out with translations. However, time in the world right now, a lot going on. I don't want to bug them with that. B Wormed then showcased more of these terrible, disgusting abomination redraws. Right here we have, you know, the original art. It's great. And then the redraw, what did they do? Why the nose, especially the nose is really creepy. Why would you want to redraw something into this? Like, I can understand changing the style a little bit because artists have their own individual styles. So fan art might inherently look different than the original intellectual property. What's going on here, though, is it's not really the artist's original style. They're intentionally doing it this way. And that's why the term Tumblr redraw is a thing. Because whenever these Tumblr people redraw, they all end up having the same style. So it's not what I just said about the individual style being the thing. That's not it. They are intentionally making it all weird looking. And again, the noses. What is that? This next part's a little tricky. There's a lot of context missing. I'm not going to go over it because the person, Agnia, the quote-unquote Russian SJW, they go off on some weird tangent trying to make a hot take. It makes no sense to me. I'm just going to read this part, and then I'll show you what B Worm comments on. So the tweet says, translation, these Japanese characters with Japanese names born and living in Japan made by Japanese people don't read to me as Japanese because they don't conform to my idea of what Japanese people look like, which is probably based off caricatures, stereotypes, and comparison. And they say, Japanese people see themselves as simply people, just like white people see themselves as simply people. B-Worm says, it has been pointed out that it's not the body of a Japanese person. Is it good to draw with slanted eyes for Japanese people? Said that all of Sailor Moon's characters would be white. He laughed and said, you don't fit the stereotype of the Japanese you think. Awareness is not working. Obviously, again, Google Translate, it's not perfect. However, I think the gist of this is the ending, self-awareness. This person is trying to talk about stereotypes as they go and assume what all Japanese people think. So it's a jab at the self-awareness. At least that's my take on it. If you disagree, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also because that helps out, of course. I mean, the other thing, too, is, like I said, we're missing context. However, I think the self-awareness thing is pretty accurate, so moving on. Agnia did have this to say, however. Interesting how they almost exclusively attached my art I drew as a teen 4 to 5 years ago, and none if my actual current drawings. Thinking face times 5 makes you think. And then they said, pressed about harmless fan art made for fun. In my opinion, this is not so much about the specific artist. This is about the Tumblr redrawing in general and that art style. And again, kind of the assumptions and the lack of self-awareness from many people on Tumblr and on Twitter. Many people like that. It's quite unfortunate. That said, I do think the new art style is a lot better. At least in my opinion, it seems that the artist improved over those years that those really were 4 to 5 years old, as they said. One thing is for certain, they got rid of the creepy nose thing, and that's great, because that nose thing was really, really creepy. I do think this tweet is really hypocritical, though, the more I think about it, where Agni said, pressed about harmless fan art made for fun. You know, it feels like a two-way street, right? They want to be able to talk about social justice things and what's right and wrong, but when a Japanese person has a little bit of issues with what they're doing, suddenly it's just harmless fan art. It's made for fun. You shouldn't have any problem with it. You know, that's kind of gross. I really enjoy looking at the support that B Worm is getting from the reasonable people here in the States. We're not all crazy. Really, it's just a vocal minority. Please believe us. For example, this person says, hey man, use this when people are annoying you. And it's a great little meme. Let me enlarge it. There you go. Take a look at that. By the explosion is a Tumblr sign. Oh my gosh, look at this one. It says, you guys are just now finding out about this Tumblr art, and then actual character, it's Froppy. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's bad. And then, in very meta fashion, the person who made that little meme responded with this art that I assume this is not a parody. This is not satire. This is serious. They respond with this redraw looking thing of, well, I mean, you get the idea, the laughing, and it's just, man, this art style, I really don't like it. It reminds me of High Guardian Spice for some reason. Is this part of that Cal art stuff? I don't really know too much about all of this in terms of the names of the arts and all that. I've heard Cal arts for High Guardian Spice, and again, the art style does remind me of this sort of art style. So is that correct? Is this also Cal art style, or no? Is it different things, same things? Now this dude Mad Moth says, why are they in SJW? Because they draw something you don't like. This is in response to Mad Worm's original post, where he said, well, you get the idea. Some of the responses are quite good in my very humble opinion. This one's saying, for example, because the focus of their redraws seems entirely around race and body shape, and art style is secondary. She is drawing Japanese idols. They would not look like she is drawing them. This other person says there is an implicit arrogance to redrawing characters while also changing bodily elements of the character. It is as if to say, it looks better my way, or the character would be better if you change this. There is nothing better about these redesigns. I really have to say, though, I like that first point. It's a good one. Why do they have to focus on the race and the body shape and all of that? If they want to promote positivity and acceptance from people, then maybe they shouldn't tunnel vision that sort of thing and then like make it very obvious that that's what they're trying to accomplish with their art. There's a hidden agenda there. It's sometimes not so hidden. Sometimes it's a hidden agenda, sometimes it's just an agenda. What it doesn't feel like is genuine art that is genuine fan art, appreciating the IP. It doesn't seem like that's the case. Again, feels like there's an agenda there, and it feels like a very shady, convoluted agenda. Again, if you really want to promote those things, I don't think this is a good idea of going about it. And I know I'm not alone in that thinking. There's a reason why those people don't get much support, and the support they did have is dwindling year by year. B Worm did conclude their thread with this final tweet, and the second half of it, I don't think the translation worked well at all, so I'm just going to read the first half, where B Worm says, I wrote quote-unquote Russian because I wanted to let the Japanese know that this kind of movement is spreading all over the world. I have no intention that all Russians are. There's a period. I assume they mean I have no intention that all Russians are like that. In other words, they know that not all Russians are like this Tumblr person. And finally, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe to this channel. Turn the notification bell on. Like the video. Share the video. And a big thanks to the kind people who shared the earlier video. It's going to be Ryu Mao, Sir Wolf, Shogun, Yodeling Shax, Malfunction, Ritsuku Blue, Dinosaur King, Coden X, Deshaun Miller, Gem, Justice for Vic and Johnny, DXDKJ, Ambi-Pass Studio, Ian Woods, Mr. Anime 343, and On the Brain. Well, with that all said, thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one.